Okay guys, so we're going to review a couple things for the midterm. So the first thing is going to be stuff with numbers. So basically one of the main things is knowing that each number has a decimal form. If it's rational, it may have a fraction form, and then it also has a percent form. So for instance, we have 2/5. If you take 2 divided by 5 in your calculator, you get 0.4, and that is equivalent to 40%. So if you get a question where you are trying to order numbers from least to greatest, if you can just look at the numbers and you know which is greater and which is least, then of course you can just order them. But when in doubt, I would recommend that you go ahead and just convert them all to their decimal form, and then you can order them. And usually that's easier for students to order numbers that are in their decimal form rather than their fraction form. So for instance, we have 3/5. If you take 3 divided by 5, that's exactly what 3/5 means, 3 divided by 5. If you type that into your calculator, you will end up getting 0.6. 65%, if we convert to a decimal, is going to be 0.65. 2/3 will end up giving us 0.6 repeating. Remember, this means 0. We have 6, 6, 6, and it keeps going. And then 3/4 is 0.75. So now we can compare these decimals, and of course we have the 0.5, but that was already as a decimal. We can compare these decimals and order them least to greatest. So the smallest one is 0.5, and then comes 0.6, and then 0.65, and then 0.6 repeating, and then 0.75. And so this is the order in their decimal forms, and then we can just convert them back when we're writing out our answer. So 0.5, 3/5, 65%, 2/3, and then 3/4. And this would be those numbers ordered from least to greatest. All right, next big thing is solving equations. So in class, we started with 1- and 2-step equations, and then we kind of built from there. But there's this general structure that we kind of follow for solving any linear equation. And the first thing that I would recommend you do, if you want kind of this procedure that you do on everyone, is you distribute. So anywhere you can, if you can. So for this one, we can distribute this 3. And we end up getting 3x plus 15, and then we have this minus 2x equals 2x plus 1 hanging out. And then you're going to look at each side of the equation and combine like terms where you can. So for instance, on the left-hand side, we have this 3x and this minus 2x that are like terms. And so we're going to go ahead and combine them. Before we start moving the variable around, combine the like terms on each side. So we end up getting x plus 15 equals 2x plus 1. We don't have any like terms to combine. And then I would recommend that you move the variable to one side. So for this problem, that would mean either subtracting x from both sides or subtracting 2x from both sides. For this problem, I'm going to subtract the x from both sides. And we end up getting 15 is equal to 2x minus x is an x, and then we have the plus 1. And then the resulting equation after step 3 will always be a 1 or a 2-step equation. So for this one, it's just a 1-step equation. We can go ahead and subtract the 1. And we end up getting that 14 is equal to x. And that's going to be our solution. If you want to write it as x is equal to 14, that's also perfectly fine. And I'm just going to run through 2 other examples like this. I would recommend, if you want to practice, to go ahead and pause the video right now. Try these problems, both of these, and then you can watch through my solution. We don't necessarily have to take exactly the same steps, I'm going to follow the general structure that I just gave you, but mostly kind of look for if we're getting the same answer at the end. And also make sure that your notation while you're writing out how you're solving this equation is good, because that's going to be part of what I'm grading on the midterm, is how you write your solution. Okay, so again, pause if you want to try it first, because I'm going to start solving this. So the first thing, we're going to distribute where we can. So for this one, I can distribute this 3. The left-hand side I'm going to leave alone, so I have 5x minus 4x plus 2 is equal to 3 minus 6x. The next thing, combine like terms on each individual side if you can. So we have this 5x minus 4x gives us x plus 2 equals 3 minus 6x. And then we're going to move our variable to one side. That could either be subtracting x from both sides or adding 6x to both sides. I'm personally going to add the 6x. So we end up getting 7x plus 2 is equal to 3. And now we have a two-step equation to solve. So we can subtract 2 from both sides. We get 7x is equal to 1. And then we can divide both sides by 7. And we end up getting x is equal to 1/7. For this next one, again, we're going to follow the same structure. So I'm going to distribute where I can. I can distribute this 2. So I get 4 minus 5x is equal to 6 minus 2x plus 4x. Next, we're going to combine like terms where we can. So here I have 4 minus 5x equals 6. We have a minus 2x and a plus 4x. Those combine to be positive 2x. Think if you have negative 2 plus 4, that gives you a positive 2. Now we're going to move our variable to one side. I'm going to go ahead and add 5x to both sides. So we end up getting 4 is equal to 6 plus 7x. And then again, we have a two-step equation to solve. So I can subtract 6 from both sides. I get negative 2 is equal to 7x. And I can divide out by my coefficient of 7. So I end up getting x is equal to negative 2/7. Okay. Now, the third kind of main thing that's going to be on the exam is stuff with linear equations. So I wrote kind of some notes here for like the concept. So two variables, x and y, are linearly related if between any 2 points, if you take the change in y over the change in x. Now this is exactly the slope. Basically, if the slope is constant. So expanding this out, this is our slope formula. M is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. That's between any 2 points, x1, y1, and then x2, y2. And if we rearrange this, we'll end up getting our point slope formula for a line. So this equation right here gives us the equation of a line where m is the slope of the line and x1, y1 is going to be a point on the line. In class, I showed you that we could rearrange this one further and end up getting our slope-intercept form of a line. So this is an equation of a line with slope m, and where the y-intercept is going to be b at the point 0, comma b. Okay, and so if you know these two, if you know these two forms of a line, you understand the slope formula, and you understand what it means to be the slope of a line, and if a line goes through a point, then you should be pretty solid on this section. I'm going to give an example problem. So suppose we want to write the equation of the line with slope negative 2/3 through the point 1, comma 4 in slope-intercept form, and we want to graph it. So I'm going to start off with writing the equation. first we have the slope, so m is equal to negative 2/3. And we have a point, so our x1, y1 is 1, 4. So x1 is 1, y1 is 4. And we can write this in our point slope form of a line, right? So we end up getting y minus y1 is 4 is equal to m, so negative 2/3, x minus x1 is 1. So this would be the equation of the line in point slope form. It's specifically asking for slope-intercept form in the problem statement right here. So we're going to go ahead and rearrange this, but we have the equation of the line. So we just need to rearrange things to get y equals mx plus b. So we can go ahead and distribute this negative 2/3. So we get y minus 4 equals negative 2/3 x plus 2/3. That's just me doing negative 2/3 times a negative 1. And then we can add 4 to both sides. And we get y is equal to negative 2/3 x. And then off to the side, you might want to do 2/3 plus 4. Remember, when we're adding things, when fractions are involved, we want to get a common denominator. So we can write this as 2/3 plus 12/3, right? 12 divided by 3 is 4. And here we have a common denominator of 3. So then this is going to give us 14/3. So we've got plus 14/3. Then we want to graph it. And there's two ways that we can go about graphing this. The first way is to just use the point and the slope that they gave us. So I'm going to go ahead and do that way first. So they gave us a point 1, 4. So we'll plot this point. And then we have that it has a slope of negative 2/3. Well, keep in mind that negative 2/3 being our slope means that our change in y over our change in x between any 2 points is going to be equal to the ratio of negative 2/3. So I can move down 2 for my change in y, negative 2, move down 2, and my change in x can be a positive 3. So this is my negative 2, my positive 3, and then that's going to lead me to another point on my line. And I can do this repetitively, so I can go down 2 over 3. That's going to give me another point on my line. And then I can go ahead and graph this line. So we've got this is going to be the graph of our line right here. Now, I said that there were two ways that we could graph this line. I just did the first one where we took the point and the slope that was given to us, and we graphed the line. The second way that we could do it is by using our slope-intercept form. So we know that 14/3 is going to be our y-intercept, and that ends up being this point right here. We have 0, and then this 14/3. And then we could again use our slope to find the next point. And actually, if you think about this triangle right here, we're moving down 2/3 and over 3/3. So our units are in thirds, but we still maintain that slope. So sometimes that way is easier when you don't have a fraction for your y-intercept, but I just wanted to mention it. All right, so that is our review for our midterm. Make sure that you understand kind of how to work with basic numbers, understand how to convert from fractions to decimals to percentages. Another thing you should recall how to do is how to find like a fraction of a number, adding, dividing, multiplying fractions, all of that kind of numbers review. Make sure you're solid on. If you need to go back and look at the notes on that, I would suggest that maybe you do that tonight. And then solving linear equations, graphing linear equations, all of that's going to be on your midterm. If you understood all of these questions, you're probably going to be pretty solid for the midterm. If you find that you're struggling a little bit to understand these questions, I would really heavily suggest you study, spend a decent chunk of time studying today, because the midterm is 15% of your grade. So it is a very important exam for you to try to do well on.